Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AJK podcast. Today, we're going to start off by introducing ourselves. My name is Avery Fetcherl, and I will be one of your hosts today. And I'm currently majoring in business administration here at USD. And each of us are going to introduce ourselves by saying one interesting fact about each other. And mine is that I am currently on the USD club baseball team.
My name is Kane Muth. I'm another one of your co-hosts today. I am currently majoring in business administration, and an interesting fact about me is that I live on a chicken farm and I have 7 siblings.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jacob Solano, your other co-host. One interesting fact about me is that one of my pinkies is longer than the other. So today we're going to be briefly talking about the importance of communication in the workplace, communication strategy, verbal and nonverbal communication, and how that boosts morale in creating healthy relationships in the workplace. So we'll have Avery started off with topic 1.
All right. So the first topic is the importance of communication in the workplace. To go over it, for my personal opinion, I think that communication is becoming one of the most important areas in the business world ever since the world is moving to more hybrid jobs. People will need to know how to use communication well, even when they are not in person. By finding ways to do that, you can create stronger connections with your coworkers and give them the information they need to perform well. And a little interesting fact or statistic I found on Coursera is miscommunication costs businesses with at least 100 employees approximately $450,000 or more on a year. And that's pretty crazy. I did not know that miscommunication costs up to that much. But
that is very interesting.
Yeah. I feel like communication is kind of overlooked with the importance of it in the workplace because it maintains like a professional attitude throughout the workplace and boosts morale and things of that sort.
I think I'm kind of the same way on that. The way I think of it is that communication is really just changing every day with, technology. It's because, our attention spans, people have taken studies on that. It's like gone from a 20-minute attention span to a 3-minute attention span. So when you're having communication like this, you really have to pay attention because it is super important in any workplace.
Yeah, and I think miscommunication can really hurt a business. It's like a double-edged sword. Like if you're having good communication, like it's basically all positives and no negatives. But if you're miscommunicating, it can really hurt the business with driving employees to dislike one another and not being efficient in the workplace and kind of stuff like that.
Well, yeah, the miscommunication part you brought up, you see it in texts and emails. People, you could say it in one way and they could take it as a completely different situation. Mm-hmm. And that could be a huge miscommunication when it comes to work, especially if it's like someone taking over, like someone needed someone else to do this so they could take care of something else. Somehow it gets miscommunicated along the way and someone's not doing their job. So that's the way I think of it with miscommunication can go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's huge for it. And there's a lot of strategies you can use, which will transition to our next topic of communication strategies. So there's a lot of different strategies workplaces use, and they're kind of all similar in some respect. But some main points that I researched, found a good article from Virginia Wesleyan University, is that it's important to define what appropriate communication is. So communication might be different in an accounting firm versus a tire shop. Like it's all communication isn't created equal in the workplace. So you have to just know when you can be more relaxed with communication or where you got to be more formal and professional. It's also very important to eliminate weak language. So one example that I read across was that to avoid using the word but, which may seem super minor and I thought it was a little tedious, and the reasoning for that was because it can be interpreted to invalidate other claims or ideas. So it's just important to kind of read the listener when communicating in the workplace.
Yeah, you come with some good points with that. Communication strategy is huge everywhere in interviews, especially when you're interviewing big sales and with bigger people along the way and big CEOs. Communication strategy can come in big. You start off with a handshake, smiling all the time. Sounding confident is a big thing too with communication strategy that people overlook a lot.
Yeah, and to go back on your little butt thing, yeah, I totally agree on that. Like how, if you include butt in your sentences and everything, how it kind of gives you kind of gives off they're not listening to you or anything when they say butt. They're like, okay, I understand, but and they'll just go branch off into something else where they're trying to force you into something else and not listening to you. Is what I think.
And I think another thing with that is it's always important to, if you disagree with something, to acknowledge their point and then maybe use the word but it's all different for each workplace. And I think along with that, it's also very important to be intentional with your communication, especially digitally, because you don't get that face-to-face interaction. So it's important to try to build that connection with the listener and be clear with everything. And but with that, I mean, there can become a lot of communication pitfalls. So obviously people have different perspectives everywhere you go. It's important to recognize that and try to keep conflict at a minimum with that. And I mean, people have different knowledge levels, and a lot of people don't have the same common language that they're used to. If you're working with someone from Texas, their slang is a little different than South Dakota. So it's just important to kind of recognize all the differences with people and to kind of adjust to that as well.
I mean, you use the term read the room, right? Just read the room, make sure what you're saying is okay with everyone. Don't try to use your language, because that just does not work in the workplace. You see it with politics every day. Nobody's going to agree with you on politics, no matter what, really, in a workplace. You can't talk about what you think is right, because then it just makes a whole bunch of miscommunication in the workplace. It makes everything 10 times harder.
Right. And it's also important because there's a difference between speaking with your employees versus a client. With your employees, you can be maybe a little more relaxed, but with clients, it's very important to be professional so that they keep coming back to you or keep asking for your help, and make them feel welcome, make them feel like it's okay to ask questions. And those are all really good points that Rebecca Rustin wrote in her article as well.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. Context is a big thing when communicating, is knowing what's going on, what are you guys doing, and knowing what to say. So I agree with that.
All right, with that, we'll transition to our topic 3, which is a pretty important topic, I think. Verbal and nonverbal communication. So these are both obviously important, and I feel like the verbal communication is very easy to recognize, but it's very easy to miss the importance of nonverbal communication.
Yep.
Using your hands and everything, when you're talking, you see a speech, the guy's always moving his hands everywhere. It gets their attention going, You don't see people just standing there with their hands in their pockets, because everybody else would just go on their phone and not pay attention, because it's just not that important if he's not into the speech. Same thing with comedians. The reason why they get everybody's attention by walking around the stage with the microphone in their hand, pointing out people in the crowd and making fun of them, because that's just how people react. They get the attention from it, and it just explodes in their brain, and they go right to whoever's on the stage.
Yeah, having good nonverbal communication skills is pretty key, I would say. Not you want to get hand movements, and you want to kind of get eye-catching movements to have people be focus on you and not something else. And also there's some negative nonverbal communication, which would be slouching or just no eye contact at all. It just shows that you don't care about whatever you're talking about, or you don't respect the other person you're with.
And so yeah, with all of that, I mean, like you said, slouching, there's good nonverbal communication, bad nonverbal communication. And I think the main basis of it is just maintaining those relationships, not even verbally, but just showing that you care about what they're saying and that you're listening. And it's kind of different from verbal, obviously, where verbal communication kind of gets things going. It's a more productive thing, where nonverbal communication just maintains the relationships, helps the morale out, stuff of that sort.
If we can expand on the nonverbal communication, the way I think of it, you kind of take a look at what people wear and what people eat. Like if you see someone eating fast food every day, you can already kind of see, okay, they don't really take care of themselves. They're just eating as much bad food as possible. Or if they're wearing, like, if they show up to work in sweats and a sweatshirt, it definitely doesn't look as good if they're wearing dress clothes. I think that is a big thing there that people don't realize with nonverbal communication.
Yeah, clothes is a huge thing. A lot of people kind of overlook that, but whatever you dress up as, it's a big like tell to like either managers or anyone really about like the kind of person you are. Not exactly what you are, but they kind of get a good idea of it, a rough idea.
Right. Like in some ways, you're kind of advertising yourself with that, with what you wear as well.
Mm-hmm.
And for our last topic here, I'll kind of take over here, is boosting morale and creating healthy relationships with your coworkers. So if you look here, the stuff that I researched is not, some slow days, you might not have anything going on. You might want to do some cool team strength things to shine, like trivia, an employee sports day if you got like employees that are into sports, maybe even a scavenger hunt. There's a lot of things out there that people don't realize when you're in these big businesses that can boost morale and make communication so much easier in any workplace. If people know each other to like a business friend in a workplace, it makes communication so much easier. People aren't like scared to ask questions. They're not afraid to talk to people. It just makes things so much easier in any sort of workplace.
Yeah, like I think like throwing events and stuff is a nice like break away from the business atmosphere, and you can get to know like your employers, employees, like coworkers, because it like once you do those events and stuff, people start interacting with each other, communicating, getting a better understanding of each other, which can lead to like stronger connections and better relationships.
Right, and it can make the workplace a lot more productive too, with just a boost in morale and higher camaraderie around all the workers at your business too. And I think overall that morale kind of goes hand in hand with like verbal communication in some ways, where it's a productive thing that you do. And yeah, so
I mean, for what Rebecca Rooston was saying, there are some big terms like being clear, don't speak for other people. Nobody likes when you like say, well, this person said that. Nobody likes that. And then, practice active listening. Make sure you're listening to people. Pay attention. Everyone can get along that way.
Right. So to wrap up kind of what we went over today, so we talked briefly on the importance of communication in the workplace. Avery made some great points of how it kind of gets overlooked in some respects, and strategies people can use to help out the workplace, and some problems that may arise and just trying to adjust to the diversity of people's language. And then also verbal and nonverbal communication, which can make work both productive and help build relationships. And then what Kane brought up with boosting morale and creating healthy relationships, hosting events, trying to get people to come together in the workplaces are all good things that need to be talked about.
Yes, I agree.
We just like to talk about it, and because we think it is as important as anything else in a business. So,
right. This is Jacob Solano.
This is Avery Fetchel.
And this is Kane Muth.
And we'll see you later.